Okay guys, so in the previous video we created this route that is /products, and it is handled by this product route that uses this product.route.js file here, where we are handling all the routes related to /products. But now let's see that what if we send a request to any other route that is not handled by this Express application. So let's go to our REST client here and let's make a GET request to the home route here. GET HTTP localhost port 3000. So let's send a request to this route here, a GET request, and we see that we are getting back error message here, or a not found error here, that is 404 not found. And here in the body we are getting a HTML body, and it is automatically sent by the Express framework. But in our REST API we do not want to see this kind of error, but rather we want to get a JSON response back which will contain the error. So let's see how do we do that. So let's close this response from here and let's go back to our app.js file. And just before we start listening for events on port 3000, we'll create a middleware here which would be app.use, and it will take in a callback function here. And this callback function again takes in 3 parameters, that is the request, response and next. And this middleware will be fired whenever there are no routes above this which are handling the route that is requested by the client. So we see that we only handle this /products route here, but not the /. So what it will do, this application, it will see that this is the / is not handled by this thing here. So it will come to this thing here, that is this middleware here, and where you can send your custom 404 error here. So what we can do, we can simply send the status by response.status, and the status code would be 404. And then we want to send the response JSON body. So we can simply say response.send, and here we can send in a JSON response here. So error would be not found, like this. So now let's save this application, and now let's try going back to this route here, that is the home page here, or the home route. And now when we click on send request, we are getting this error here, that is the status of the HTTP response is 404 not found, and we are getting a JSON body here which says the error not found. So we are able to handle any 404 errors inside our application. So now even if we go to abc_xyz, we will get the same response back. So let's click here. We see that we are also getting the same response, that is 404 not found, because all these routes which are not handled by our application are handled by this middleware, that is this middleware. But again, this is not the proper way of handling 404 error. Instead we should be using our Express error handler. So now let's see how to make the error handler. So we'll comment here that error handler, and this is again a middleware, and again we can do something like this, that is app.use, and again it takes in a callback function. And now here there are 4 parameters, and the first parameter is the error. So we'll write error here, and then the 3 parameters, that is the request, response, next, like this. And now whenever there is a 404 error, that is if that route is not handled by our application, then that route would be funneled to this middleware here where we are sending the response. But instead of sending the response, what we can do, we can create our own error. So const error equal to new error, like this, and here we can pass in the message that is not found, or whatever you want to write here. And now we'll set a status to this error. So error.status, not stack but status, would be equal to 404. And now we'll use this next object to pass this error to this error handler. So we simply call this next here, like this, and inside here we pass this error that we have just created, like this. And now by doing this thing here, what happens is that when we call next and we pass in error, then this error handler would be called. And now here we can handle the error. And this error handler is not only related to this 404 response, we can also use this error handler for any other kinds of error that are inside our application. So whenever you call next from any of the routes, like here, if we call next from here, that is inside this route here, if we call next like this and we pass in an error here, then this next with the error parameter would call this middleware, that is the error handler here. So now let me remove this from here, and now let's go back to app.js, and now here inside this we can handle our error. So what we can do, we can simply say response.status, and the status would be error.status. Or if the status code is not set inside this error here, then we can simply send in a 500 error. That is the internal server error, and then we can simply say response.send, and here we need to send in the error object. So error, and here again we want to set the status of the error. So status would be error.status or 500, and then we want to send the message to the client. So message would be error.message like this. And now let's save this application, and now let's go back to our REST client here. So here if we make a GET request to this route, that is abc_xyz, so let's send a request. So here we are getting that error object back, or the error JSON response that we have just created inside the error handler. And here we can directly see the status of the error and the message which is sent by the server. And now to verify that this error handler works from anywhere of our routes, so let's go to our product route here, and let me close this. And where we are getting the list of all the product, instead of sending a response directly here, what we can do, we can simply call next, and we can pass in a new error here. So new error, and let's say cannot get a list of all products like this. And here as you see that we are not setting the status of the response code, so let me comment this thing out from here and let me save it. And now let's go to our REST client, and let's try to get a list of all products by clicking here, that is send request. So let me click here. So we are getting this thing here, that is internal server error, and we are seeing the status to be 500, which is coming from this thing here, because the status was not set on this error here. We have not set the status on this error here, so it is sending this 500 error, that is the internal server error. And here when we are sending the response, that is the JSON error object, we are getting the status to be 500 and the message cannot get list of all products. So now this is the proper way of handling errors inside your Express application. So enough talking about 404 errors and error handlers. In the next video, we'll be connecting to our MongoDB using Mongoose. So till then, have a good time.